Hey guys, welcome back to Elley Knows Rocks. Today I am out at the Greeks mill site. This was an old mine mill site. The actual mine is said to not be located on this particular property, but other mines would bring their ore here and have it milled out. This building behind me was one of the miners' old sleeping shacks. I assume there's an old sink, a storage, like a place for a shower unit. There's a honeybee around me, I don't know why. It's the wrong time of year for you guys. Go away. Shoo. I'm not a fan. Anyways, so I'm gonna hike up the hill. I'm gonna walk around and see what's going on and see what I can find here. We're gonna go down in the creek and go across the wash to another little house that's over there as well. But there's no actual like mine dump or that kind of cool thing. But there are really cool minerals here. They're all over the ground, and I'll show you guys what they look like. And there's a lot of epidote. There's a lot of case bar crystals. There's a little bit of tourmaline too. So we'll check that out. Anyways, thank you guys so much for joining me. If you have any comments about anything you'd like to see or what I'm doing or ask questions, leave them in the comments. Anyways, here we go. Whenever I'm driving in the side-by-side, I am always covered from head to toe to avoid the amount of dust that collects on my skin. So I am headed northwest of Baghdad, Arizona to the Greeks mill site, also known as the mill site Xanarapolis patented claim. From my research and the rumors from talking to people, this was once an old mill site, not an actual mine itself. This mill site would work both placer deposits and hard rock, all in the hopes of extracting gold, or would come in from several different mines to this mill. How they worked out the percentage of who got what, I have no idea, but that's gotta be a pretty complicated process. And the road to get there is not very easy. Of course, no mine back in the day was easy to get to, nor their mill site. And my only guess for it being so high up on the hill was for gravity purposes. Any particular gold mine back in the day would have needed an extreme water source to mill and process the rock to extract the gold. And even then, they only got about 70% of the gold out. Old mining techniques back in the day were not very proficient. But nevertheless, they made themselves great little cabins to make sure they stayed safe, warm, and had somewhere to crash at the end of the day. And no matter how many I go to, they always have a hell of a view. The old glass windows that they had like this chicken wire through them. Real bubbly glass, textured. It's their way so that it wouldn't crack. The look of this room makes me think they were doing some kind of ore testing here, or maybe looking at assays. Storage area. Screens. Most likely this was sleeping quarters. A window frame. I imagine the most efficient way to cool this area would have been to have large windows like these with screens on them so that the mosquitoes wouldn't have flown off with the miners. And quite the view. All the way down there to the dried up creek right now. This room's a little on the sketchy side with the entire roof wood all falling in on itself. It appears from the pipe and the sink in the counter that they probably had water here, so this might have been a kitchen. Maybe this was a common room where everybody could chill out together. This area was most likely their shower. Nice walk-in area. Like the roof is missing, but man, if they put a window here, what a view. I absolutely love these old wooden buildings. The texture is just gorgeous. And what a precarious place to put the house, right? Right on the edge of a cliff. Again, miners would have been placing their home where it would have been the most efficient for them. Or maybe just because they like the locality. But regardless, miners would have placed their home in the most convenient locality for getting to the job site. Some miners even took into account wind direction patterns, and they would place their home in such an area that just in case there was an airborne chemical leak, that their cabin was far enough away so that it couldn't engulf them and kill them. You have to keep in mind that these weren't MSHA or OSHA approved back then. They were just doing their work and getting the job done so that they could bring home a living to their families while keeping themselves and their brothers safe. This area has a ton of epidote in the granite. Lots of case bar, that's the pink stuff, but the green, this green color right here, it's really awesome looking epidote. I'm really hoping you can see this right now. That green layer within this rock are epidote crystals. Epidote is a silicate mineral that is commonly found in regional metamorphosed rocks. It occurs as a replacement of mineral grains that have been altered by metamorphism and is frequently found in veins that cut granite. There is a significant amount of chlorite in this rock. Chlorite forms by the alteration of mafic minerals such as pyroxene, amphiboles, and biotite, which surprisingly enough are the same mineral constituents that make up epidote in the metamorphic process. There's a lot of epidote in this rock. This green right here, you can see not as pretty as those little crystals that we found, but still pretty cool. These are gigantic feldspar crystals within this very pegmatic porphyritic granite. I mean, they're just gigantic. Now that I've checked out some of the local geology on that side of the hill, I'm going to head up to the mill site and see what the big fuss was about. Check out their equipment and see how they were processing the ore that they received. There are two giant tanks up on the hill behind me too. Most likely it was gravity fed with some water. Let's go check those out. Again, looking at it from this view really confirms that they were using gravity-fed systems in order to mill out the ore. From the two upper tanks, to the ore chute, to what may have been some kind of a conveyor belt, into a thickening tank. Each one stepping down from each other, giving a perfect gravity-fed system. Now let's head back up to these two tanks to see if I can get some clues about what they were processing, be it hard rock or placer mining. Now there is another rumor that back this way, down one of these giant canyons, there was a generator that would pump material this direction, and they would sift it out and try to get out any of the metals and whatnot. They were looking for gold. So these big canyons and washes would have been the perfect place for gold to settle into and for them to look. If you look up top, you can see those rocks right there. They look like river rocks. They're rounded. They would have come from some kind of a fluvial system, not from the top of a hill like this. but from a wash riverbed like that down there. So it would make sense if the rumors were true that some kind of a generator brought material up to the top of the hill to be milled out. Here is the top of the site, of the mill site, and you can see this is the dirt. They would have pushed in to that area. And this is just what's left over once they stopped. There's all kinds of debris left over. Old wooden boxes torn apart. Big pieces of metal. Probably a little shed down there. But this is the top of this mill site. Cute little ladder. Well, this looks like it would have been where they would have dumped the dirt into. And it would have all gone this direction. Well, it would have gone down. But then, ooh, this is sketchy. It would have been processed and run through a bunch of different systems and filtered and then stamped at some point in time if the rocks weren't small enough. Whoa! That was a little sketchy. Probably processed in that little area down there as well, where you see those gears in that little concrete circular area. We'll go down there and check it out. So we're walking down into the mill area. There's this big old engine behind me. Our motor, it would have probably ran some of this stuff. Look at the wheel. Oh my gosh. There may have been some kind of a belt driving this wheel. Perhaps it was coming from this old engine. Wow, look at this. This place is huge. To be so far out here, like there's nothing around. This is such a spectacular sight. They put so much work into something so far out here. So we were standing up there. This would have been a whole area of processing. Looks like that's a little walkway. And we're gonna go down here to this other area that was probably for processing too. And these, from working in mining, look like a flotation tank. So you would have had a primary tank, which would have been your big one here. And then you would have had a secondary right here, this metal area, and then you have some outflow areas right here. And now outflow could have been other processing where they turn it into concentrate, where they just take it completely somewhere else. There's also that pipe down there would have probably been for the tails, so that everything in this primary concrete tank would have a way to escape. Further processing with zinc powder would have been required to de-aerate the pregnated solution and then pass through a canvas filter to filter out the gold. So this is most likely a flotation tank, like I was saying, guys. So the outer tank right here, this big concrete one, would have been your primary. This would have been your rough, or at least a lot rougher than the secondary tank, which would have been in there. And there's several outlets all along at different levels. Could have been to let stuff off if they got too much or whatever it would have been. You can see the different levels. Could have been for overflow or spillage or whatnot. And they kind of stair step down. But the main valves would have been where they would get out the tails, like the tailings dam that I showed you guys the other day. And it would be that rougher, coarser sand. Now this kind of tails would have been the type of tails that people would want to think about remining. The technology we have now is far more superior to the technology they had back then. They couldn't process the ore like we can now. So if there's anything left as far as gold or maybe silver that they were looking for, most likely gold, it's down there somewhere. I'm checking out their dump pile because I love the old garbage. And this has an old glass bottle, some kind of a tin can with an eye looking thing on it. More tin cans. Dun 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 dun. Oh, that's a lid. part of a pipe. I think this might have been the old road. Ooh. Oh, that's a definite thick part of a pipe. That's a little tiny tin can. Super cute. This must have been one of those things where they would have like a trip into town like every once in a blue moon. See, this one says stuff on it. Motor. So, oh, it's oil. It's 40 weight. That's funny. Oh, it says oil right there. That's cute. We have some beautiful quartz rock. That's pretty. There are more tin cans that direction. Huh. What else do we find? Old wood. A very interesting granite here. And some of it is metamorphic actually, and some of it is actual granite. So there's kind of an amalgamation here. And you see this, very quartz monzonite-like. And then we have big pieces of quartz crystal, just massive quartz. And then you have this more pegmatic looking rock with big feldspar crystals, lots of quartz. Oh, these guys, which are awesome. Oh, that looks like... Oh, I wonder if that is a piece of a metal ball. I'll bet that is. This is a this is a mill ball. And this is what they would have used inside of a ball mill to crush rocks. This is neat, guys. This is the inside of some kind of a motor thing, but there we go. Westinghouse AC generator. That's pretty cool. This looks to be part of a house, and it looks like maybe it was just a storage area for probably parts, I'm guessing, because of all of these parts on the ground. Some bolts, weird spring thing. It's like a little coupling. Other random bolts. Oh, that's kind of cool. So a lot of just different parts looks like was in this area. And you can see there's a little wall of rocks built up. There's some old wood that was here. And it's right across from the mill site. So most likely this was probably a little bit of a parts shop. They put a lot of effort, time, and work into all of this, and then they're like, okay, yeah, we're done. And just leave it. It's sad but spectacular all at once. We're gonna meander down the road and see what else we find. Ooh, yikes. I love ocotillo when they're blooming. This one's beat up, but they're still pretty. An old drum. Let's just take this off-roading, because those are where the best stuff is found, is off the beaten path. Tin cans, tire stuff. Ooh. More tin cans. Ooh, probably oil, or most likely diesel fuel was in that big old barrel. Cactus everywhere. Evil cactus. Oh, this is random. So, old kiln, maybe? Because this is bricks, a little steel thing. It's definitely been fired inside there. Would they've been assaying on their own? They could have been. The bricks do have a stamp on them. Can we see that? Not very well. There's 3 stars and an A. I don't know if you can see that, but you have 3 stars and a circle with an A on it. That's interesting. I don't know what that stands for. We're gonna pick it up and shine it in the sunlight. That probably won't help, but maybe it's a U and not an A. So maybe we have 3 stars and a U. I'm not sure what this is. Yeah, definitely a U, not an A. If anybody knows what this symbol is or what it means, that would be amazing if you could comment. Oh, you can really see it well that way. Look at that. That's beautiful. I bet you though, this was a little area for them to fire assays or anything clay. You can see this is very shiny. So definitely something that has been burnt quite well. If you're looking further, this one right here is definitely an M. With a circle around it and might have an E at the bottom. Let me see if I can get closer. Hang on. Ugh. My hand is stuck. Jeez. Definitely something that was melted in there. Look at that. Looks like all molten metal. Kind of interesting though. We're just gonna continue walking down this ridge to see what else we find. I kind of want to go down there. Oops. Again, I know you guys have heard this before. I absolutely love doing this. It is so much fun. Oh, I could have entered right there. I'm trying to get down into this other little wash because I see something in there that I'd like to check out. Again, phenocryst. This stuff is huge, and look at this. Big, huge veins of case bar in this granite. Sweet. Oh, look, look, look. We have another. Well, this kind of just looks like a foundation with bricks. This doesn't look like they were a kiln like that other one. Is there anything on the bricks? Oh, you can't see it, bummer. That's too bad. There is a label here or a stamp. Just don't know what it is. Oh, wow. This is gorgeous. You have this red for your case bar in there. You beautiful green epidote through it. That's really spectacular. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my camera to focus in on this, but it's a beautiful vein of epidote. I want to figure out where they were getting their water from, so I decided to follow the pipe that I'd found up on the hill into the wash to see what I could find. Water is extremely important in a gold mining process, and rumor has it that this creek used to be full year-round. With the lack of monsoon the past few years, this creek does not stay full year-round anymore. But this area right here looks to definitely be a pump. Big old pipes going in, and that tank was probably like a small booster station. They could fill up that tank with water and then keep pumping it to another tank to the top of the mill site up there. But you can see this was definitely like a multi-use system with this big header pipe and then a bunch of other smaller ones coming out of it. Walking to what looks like water storage area, or I'm thinking more like a switch station for water that came out, maybe a testing site, something, but that little bitty house up there. Headed over there to see what it is, or what it might be. So just walking through the riverbed. It's not horrifically exciting, but hey, you guys are here. Kind of funky concrete poured in little layers.
Nothing left.
Maybe it was an area for that pipe to turn this way and flow down. Ouch. Because it's in steps and flow out that way. Reasonable explanation. Why they covered it, I don't know. But this was most likely so that the mill site up top could have been fed by the creek when it was flowing. And maybe they just stopped everything here because the creek doesn't always flow year round. Sometimes there's water in this all year. And you can even see little spits of water, little pools that are still left in it, but there's not water in here all year. So maybe that just hindered them from actually doing what they needed to do. Oh, this is interesting. A mine site torture device. Actually, I have no idea. But like all of those nails are welded on to this piece of sheet metal. That is insanely crazy. Now that I've investigated their source of water, it's time to go across the wash and climb up the hill to the other side to check out the cabin. And whatever that little piece of machinery is stuck in the side of the cliff there. It looks like at one time it was powered. Can't exactly tell what it is in the drone video. Maybe some kind of splitter or small crushing device. Most definitely something that turned. It must have been extremely important for them to put so much effort into a foundation and putting it on the side of the hill. There's a pretty distinguished rock pad and road leading up to this cabin. I'm gonna guess it was the foreman, maybe their lead geologist, if they had one. But most definitely somebody important. Bad news. Decided Iron Works on it. Oklahoma. Or wait, no, Oakland. Okay. Yeah, it does say Oakland. After I stuck my hand in the strange area, which probably wasn't the brightest idea to see if there was something stuck in it, I determined that this was used for crushing ore very finely, dropping down from the tunnel into the concrete and metal tube, and then spun around and being spit out there. In their dirt walls.
Wow.
to keep their walls warm. Oh my gosh. There's people come in and written their names on everything. Another miner's cabin. I love how they made themselves like little storage cabinets out of like the earth around them. And this place would have, I mean their fireplace was pretty cool because this was probably to turn their flue.
Oh yeah.
To open or close it. That's pretty cool. Oh, that's sad. That probably went somewhere like right there-ish. Stay. Cool, that's like a separate little storage area. I can't wait for the day where I find somebody's old buried treasure that they've stuck in an attic or put in the ground with a treasure map. It's bound to happen.
Really old steel pipe. Thank you guys so much for being part of my adventure. I really appreciate you guys coming and watching my videos. Leave me comments if you have any questions, and I will see you guys on the next one.
Great way to end the day by seeing some burrows on a hill. They were overlooking the entire mine.